But first, is there anyone in Parliament House doing anything that might make a real, practical difference to the lives of ordinary, everyday Australians right now? This is not a rhetorical question, by the way. I'm very happy for pollies to get in touch and let me know. I spend far too much time watching them in action. It's a passion, yes, but it's also a punish, particularly in recent times. The people we have elected to represent us, in my view, have never seemed so far removed from reality. Alleged grubby behaviour in Parliament House must be called out, and at times it's entirely appropriate for that to be done publicly. We want transparency and openness, but what we don't need is for it to take up the oxygen required to do things that, well, matter more.
There must be an investigation into these outrageous claims.
I will not pursue legal action.
I advise Senator Bann of my decision that he should no longer sit in the Liberal party room.
Now, the media plays a role here, of course, myself included. We lap this stuff up. It's good for headlines that it enthralls those with a penchant for gossip. But does any of it really matter to anyone else, let alone help? There's absolutely no doubt any alleged misbehaviour is tough for those impacted, and it must be addressed effectively and promptly. But seriously, does the ongoing focus on it do anything for anyone outside of Canberra? Fortunately, within our workplaces and society, there's already universal agreement that the alleged behaviour is unacceptable and cannot be tolerated. So it's not like what's alleged to have happened over the past fortnight is the first case of its kind and a real pivotal moment for our nation to become aware and to learn. We already get it. So what's in it for us? The Brittany Higgins matter is another example. I understand the need to hold those in power to account. I'm trying to do it right now. But the amount of time dedicated to this, while the vast majority of the other 25 million of us struggle to pay our power bills, our mortgages, our rent, represents to many a complete misuse of the time of those in public office. Did Katie Gallagher mislead the Senate? It's an important question that needs to be answered, but at what cost? How many hours have been dedicated by politicians to the pursuit?
So I have been upfront and clear with the Senate.
This is an open and shut case of misleading this Senate and this Parliament.
In excess of $2.5 million payment that's been made to Ms Higgins needs more explanation than what the Finance Minister of the Commonwealth of Australia, Senator Katie Gallagher, has given us, which is like nothing.
Instead of taking a long, hard look at themselves, they just try to point the finger at others.
The Australian Bureau of Statistics has confirmed that working Australians have just experienced the highest yearly cost of living jump on record. I'd say there are many of us who would have preferred our best and brightest, and yes, I use that term loosely, up there on the hill to assign some of those Katie hours to efforts within their power to mitigate the effects of this. Perhaps they could start on those cheaper energy bills we were promised. And the voice. The amount of time politicians are spending on it is excessive and disproportional.
Did the Minister mislead the Parliament when she said, and I quote, "I can tell you what the Voice won't be giving advice on. It won't be giving advice on changing Australia Day."
This is not about culture wars. This is about closing the gap.
Can the Minister name an issue that affects non-Indigenous Australians that does not affect Indigenous Australians?
Mr Speaker, there is no reference in the question to the responsibilities of the Minister. No. Not one.
There is no ambiguity whatsoever about the question being in order. It is within the scope of the Minister's portfolio, with or without reference to the Voice.
I'd hazard a guess the majority of Indigenous Australians right now would rather their power bills decrease, and crime rates as well, than watch politicians continue to argue about the wording, the vibe, the detail. The Voice might help with solving some of the above-mentioned issues down the track. It might not. But what I know is that it isn't doing anything for the cause right now, and these are the kind of problems that need attention immediately. It's action I'm asking of our leadership, not just talk. Lifeline, 500 extra calls a day. We learnt this today. Because of financial distress. People who are contemplating suicide because they cannot pay their bills. Now, I understand that you can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I also accept that politicians can't just look at the day-to-day. They sell us their vision when they tout for our votes, and we want to see it delivered. They absolutely are obligated to think about the bigger picture and develop world-best, world-beater policy for our future. But please, we implore you, broaden the focus and give the common man, just trying to think if I have to say woman there or if that's technically correct, but give the common man, it's a saying, a look in. Ensure the standards that prevail in that world-beater workplace of yours are never compromised, absolutely. But for the love of God, spend a far greater majority of your time working hard to improve the standards of our far less salubrious lives, please.